Hey guys, it's Jenny Wolek with the Wolek Group, Keller Williams Realty here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Today I am here to talk with my great friends on the topic of shift tactic 5. And that is, see, I got all my notes down here because I got to get creative. It's getting to the table and lead conversion. And I'm here with Ricky Cain from Austin, Texas, and Tim Houk, Baton Rouge. How are y'all doing? How are you doing? Let's just start with that. Now, we know that everybody's having different things happening in their markets with our new shift, this shift that we did not predict. We predicted a different kind of shift, not just this one. So, Ricky, why don't you share where you are and what you got going on there in Austin?
Yeah, so we're Cain Realty Group. We're in Austin, Texas. And we have stay-at-home orders. Thankfully, we're blessed to be deemed an essential service, so that's good. We do have a safety protocol that we have in place for both buyers and sellers, depending on the county, because depending on the county, there are different limitations in terms of how we can practice real estate. So while it is different, honestly, I'm just choosing to focus on two things I can control, and that's my mindset and that's my activities.
Yeah, I agree. How are you doing, Tim? You guys have been hit pretty hard there.
Yeah, New Orleans and Louisiana in general, it's spreading a little faster than we had anticipated. So, of course, we're staying at home. And like Ricky said, we're just staying focused on the mindset. I'm keeping a very strict schedule, 5 o'clock wake up. I'm catching runs. I'm working out, spending a little time with my kids in the shower. I'm on the phones. The bunker has proven to be a challenge with 3 kids under 3, but I shall figure that out as well. But, we're just going over financials today and the numbers, and I'm proud of my team. It's been a fight, but come tomorrow, I think we still should have pinned 22 to 25 homes.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Over the last couple of weeks?
This last few weeks. So I'm proud. It's April will be we're starting from scratch. April will be, we're masterminding our way through virtual showings and video and everything else. And, we're talking about shift tactic 5, but, before the previous chapter was 4 was finding the motivated, right?
Yep.
And that's our most immediate challenge is talking, looking, hunting, trying to find the motivated. I know in my heart that there are people out there who need advice, want advice, and there are people who are not as servant-hearted as me and my team to get the job done. So we're coming from contribution and just trying to keep forging forward.
I've gotten to talk to so many people. I had started this shift book club at the beginning of this year, and it was really just to go through one of the great tools that we have as a company that Keller wrote for us, Gary and Jay, and we knew a shift was coming when it comes to just the real estate market in general, and this is a whole different shift. So as I was reading through this tactic 5, some of this felt kind of uncomfortable. Like, I don't know about you guys. Right now, aren't our phone calls mostly care calls? We're checking in and making sure everyone's doing okay first. We're not pushing them one way, whether it's time to buy or sell. And so for me, parts of it did ring very true, and the other things will come later as well. So for me, the part that really stood out was the connect part. So inside of the lead conversion process, there's the capture the leads, which we may have fewer of these days, right? And then the connect part, and then the close to appointment. So for me, let's just talk about the connecting. How are you really focused on connecting with your people right now? Because that's what is going to show up later in the future. Ricky, why don't you go?
Yeah, the biggest thing right now. So we've just been talking about being connection and information leaders. within our community. And so that's what we're focusing on. And so it's just giving, connecting, obviously the messages can be different for our past clients compared to current clients and people we're incubating. The commonality there is just having care, understanding that it is for many a stressful situation, and people are being impacted differently across the board depending on the situation. So the commonality there is care, and then the other commonality is just providing information. The care is just finding out, hey, what can we do for you? This isn't a real estate related call. This is a care call. We want to reach out to you, see what it is that we can do, even if it's as simple as helping you get a prescription, connecting you with a lawn service provider. What can we do? And then I heard something great too the other day that we're implementing in our calls at the end, asking, hey, who else do you know that could benefit from just hearing a friendly voice on the other side of the line? So I
Oh,
thought that was an interesting little twist to add to it as well. And then just providing information about what's going on in the market, um, providing information on how it is that we are continuing to practice real estate, and actually providing too simple data like 195 pendings happened in the last 24 hours, providing data so that people understand, man, the market's actually super hot right now. It's continuing to cycle. And by providing the information too, what I'm finding in terms of how we're, our safety protocol and such, we're actually having people reach out to us that were working with another broker and severed that relationship because they were so impressed with us actually having a safety protocol and being able to continue doing business, have a positive mindset while able to keep buyers and sellers safe. They were so impressed that we were doing these things that they wound up reaching out to us. And so when you guys were talking earlier, the first thing that came to mind, man, people that have been in your database for a long time that maybe you haven't connected with, chances are maybe they're working with another realtor or they had, but now's still a good time to connect with them because most of the people that are going to be on this call, and you two included, you guys have protocols set up so that you can continue to serve buyers and sellers at a high level. And the truth of the matter is people like us feel like we're halfway through a marathon with this, and a lot of our competitors are just now putting on their shoes.
yeah, nice analogy. Something that stood out to me is that the connection and information leader, and
Yes.
the connection we're all great at. That's most of us that got into this business. It's because we connect and care for people. And then what I was thinking was our information is changing daily. I mean, a few weeks ago, did we even have any idea that this was going to happen? We didn't. And most of us still had a roadmap and a plan that we could act really fast because we knew those tactics to get into place. So, Tim,
Yeah,
how
you
are you?
must have known about this, Jenny, because you had this whole thing
I
planned
did.
out starting shift.
I knew it. I'm just telling you. No, if I
Yeah.
did, man, that would be awesome. No, it's not awesome. Tim, why don't you share how you guys are really connecting with your people during these days?
In anticipation of this call, I was trying to think of different things to say, and we've heard it. There's been a ton of webinars and things, and so in the spirit of coming from contribution to bring some value, I'm trying to think of sharing what I've heard, maybe that we have not employed yet. Had a cool one. We're doing the same stuff. We're as Ricky stated, we're just calling people we haven't spoken to, checking in, asking great questions. Just, how are you? Do you need anything? And one conversation went, no, I don't need anything, real brief and about them. I was
Yeah.
like, well, do you understand that maybe, and I said, maybe if you've had a past unpleasant experience with a painter or a contractor or something you need done around your house, and you can't find anybody because nobody's working right now, I have a list of resources. So, just anything like that would be of value to you. And immediately the tone changed. She's like, oh, wow, okay, I see what you mean. And we wound up having a 20-minute conversation. Totally awesome. Loved it, enjoyed it. And, she was a past client who never intends on moving, but that's irrelevant, right? She's a forever client. But I heard a cool one yesterday. It was in we did a one with Wendy Papazan, and someone actually in my office had shared that, and it's handwritten notes right now, is that a gray area, do you feel?
Why would it be gray?
Some people are afraid to open the mail. They don't want to touch it.
Oh.
Setting in the sphere of spreading. And so I'm a note guy. I write them, I crank them out. I love them. And so, but one cool idea I heard yesterday was someone said that he wrote the note, he had his whole family sign it, and they sent it off. And I just loved it. Right.
Yeah.
But firing off just in personalized emails. And so birthdays, shooting a quick email or video. Hey, Ricky, happy birthday, man. Hope you guys are staying safe.
Tomorrow.
It's his birthday?
Tomorrow.
48. Congrats.
Yeah, this was my birthday present, being able to be blessed to be asked to be on this call. So I've already, man, I'm already in seventh heaven.
So just using those personalized touches, connecting with people, I'm enjoying it as much as, the next person. Jenny, I don't do very well cooped up in one location. So, I'm enjoying it. I'll tell you one thing that I did. I have there was a farm that was, of course, now can't sell this produce to the restaurants. And so we had arranged for them to bring a refrigerated truck to my neighborhood. And I got on next door and shared it with the entire neighborhood. People drove up, walked up, paid their money through Venmo, got their grocery bag, got back in their vehicle. But I sat outside with the truck and people were just, Tim, thank you so much. I don't know these people. They're all in my neighborhood. But it was a great way to connect, and people were just chatting and talking, yet we're distanced and felt safe, eating fresh vegetables. The truck that came to town had brought 100 bags of grocery, 100 bags of pre-bagged stuff, sold out. They'll be at my house again 1 to 3 on Thursday. I'll see, I anticipate being a bigger day, but just finding ways to connect. You talk about hyper-local. So that was, I'm seeing – yeah, great results.
Yeah, how many of us already had all these things on our to-do list that we just hadn't fully implemented yet?
Man, that's a great point.
We have, for me, I had a goal of meeting with a small business owner or local restaurant every week and doing a video and promoting them. That's been on my list forever. Well, it was always a struggle, like coordinating with them, going face to face, doing it. Now I've done like 6 in the last 7 days. And I'm posting them on a public page that we have, Tulsa Looks Good on You, and they're getting likes and shares. And I mean, even if I can bring about like one additional new customer for those those restaurants that are struggling so bad right now, that is all that matters to me. And so, this is so cool because we get to really catching up on so many of the things that we maybe had going on. I want to share this real quick. This is from page 95. Of Shift. There are 6 connection questions. And I just thought these would be good to point out because if you're on the phone and of course you've done the hi, how are you calls, and then maybe you do find that they have some interest in thinking about real estate needs, you can just dig deep on these. So who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why do they want to need or do it? And when do they want or need to do it? And how do they plan to do it? So just additional ways to kind of think through with people when you're talking with them. To be honest, I'm making calls every day as well. And I'm not coming across, because mine are definitely not current business or pipeline calls. The agents are doing those. I'm doing more of just the general database check-in calls. And I'm not having anybody that is in the process of buying or selling right now. So I'm not coming across these. Are you guys finding as you're checking in with people that you're finding some motivation inside of there that you would have otherwise not known about?
No, it's no, same here. It's I think they're just so focused on the news, staying safe. They just don't and you got to think about it too is we're not as connected to people as we usually are. And I think that people aren't, without that connection, just don't have great of a clarity in terms of what someone may or may not be wanting to do in terms of being able to know if they do know someone that needs to buy or sell real estate. It just seems to me like the connection isn't as solid between people right now. And so it just seems very closed off. I love what you mentioned about the restaurants. So in our check-in calls too, we're asking if they do own their own business, because we know now it's, more important than ever that we support local businesses. So I'm doing 30-minute Zoom calls, and we're going to start posting those in an effort to help, give those businesses more exposure. So similar to what you're doing. So I love that you're doing that too, because there's two things that we're finding the most of on these calls. Local business owners are a little scared, and parents are losing their mind because of their children. And so that's how we're tackling the first one. The second one, we're starting a weekly coloring contest. And so people can, so people can go to our Facebook page every Friday, download the coloring contest. Then they can go to our rewards program, Cain Club, upload that image, and then everyone within that system votes on it. And then the top 3 winners get Amazon gift cards. So we're figuring out those are our 2 solutions to help with the 2 things that are coming up the most on our phone calls.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'll be stealing that. So something that we implemented this week, another system that had been on our to-do list and did not ever get there, and now we have it coming true finally. Last week we did a teacher spotlight, and so when the everyone nominates their teachers, now everybody's realizing the importance of their teachers. Then the teacher will get to pick their favorite restaurant, local restaurant. So I'm kind of double rewarding there. And then this week we did tag your favorite small business, getting tons of great stuff there. And then the winner who nominates the small business that wins will get a gift card from that small business. And I'll do a video spotlight. And then again, the same rules with a local restaurant. And then I also realized, a big part of our mission is giving back to our community through nonprofits. And they're kind of being, I don't know, I'm not seeing as much a promotion of local nonprofits as much as I am small businesses. So I want to make sure that our local nonprofits that are doing so much good for those in need are going to get donations as well. So that's something I'm implemented and I'm very excited about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So go ahead, Tim.
So page 94, just to something that jumped out to me when is that this just says this isn't where you tell and sell your way to success, but where you ask and listen your way into their heart, their head, and their heart.
Yeah.
And I think everything we talk about is summarized really right there. It's asking great questions. It's connecting. It's being a resource and a consultant more than anything. The people who have the real need to buy have to buy, and the ones that have to sell. Someone should be there to help them with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think too, when you think back to Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dream, if you have a conversation with someone and you think it's great and you get off the phone and you can't answer 2 of those 4, your conversation wasn't as great as it could have been.
Right. You may have asked, but you did not listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Well, the whole point of this tactic 5 is to get to the table. So we needed to think about conversion. So we know that there's fewer leads. Something that stood out to me was a quote on page 99. You can't serve them if you don't meet with them. Well, right now, you may not be able to physically meet with them. And that's where we've gotten super creative. I know you guys, both your teams have put lots of buyers and sellers under contract over the last few weeks. So how are you seeing, now we won't get into politics of your area versus other areas, essential or not essential. Let's just go to like ways that you're working through it, maybe virtually and staying safe.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing virtual buyer and listing consultations. So the buyer consultation, we do it virtually. We do the showings virtually. So that part's pretty simple. And then on the listing consultation, we failed forward on a few of them until we got it closer to being right. I don't want to say it's right because it's perfect because we're still working through it. What we've learned is to give very detailed instructions in terms of how to download the Zoom app, the process of the appointment, what's going to happen first, and what the order of the appointment's going to be. Because the first few, we were like, okay, well, how do they virtually show us the house if they're on their home computer? that doesn't work. So then 30 minutes of the appointment is showing them how to download. So it's basically that virtual listing appointment confirmation email needs to be very, very detailed, and you need to walk them through the process of what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. So that way you can have an hour appointment and not a 3-hour technology appointment.
Which is,
So,
there's nothing more frustrating for everyone, right?
Yeah. I mean, my first one, half of the virtual tour, I just saw his finger, and I never even got to see the house. So we've learned a ton. I'm happy to share that with anyone that wants it too. It's just a simple template that we have. It's
I
very
think everyone's
informative
gonna
and
want that.
instruction based.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that for us. I mean, the buyer side, it was a lot easier, just doing a screen share. On the seller side, it was a lot more challenging. And so we found the secret is just set it up for success is to give that information ahead of time.
Love that. I love that. That is fun because a lot of us have some technology skills when it comes to Zooms, and not everybody else does. I'm finding that with the small business owners too, and the restaurant people.
Yeah.
Setting them up for success for the Zooms that we do together with light on your face and all those tips. Ricky, I was going to ask you something inside of that. I know Nate was mentioning he did his first buyer consultation via Zoom this past weekend and how great it was. And he said that his aha was that with Zoom, you have to pause and ask more questions purposely because it's hard to read people through the camera. Has anybody else found that to be true?
Interesting. I haven't had the feedback from the agents yet. And I could see that. I mean, because all you can see usually is from here up. You can't see as much body language. So there's not, and you also, you have to be more selective with your words and your rate of speech. Because what we get to remember is that by not being in person, mirroring and matching, the things we can mirror and match become more important, right? And so our frame of speech, eye contact, or rate of speech, eye contact, and from here up, body posture, mimicking as much as possible. Because I don't know what you're doing with your hands right now. If you were doing this at the table, I would be doing it too.
Yeah.
So that's just an example. So I can see how that makes sense, especially for someone that's at high D, wants to speak very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, that's it. He is. So maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Tim, so what are you seeing when it comes to the virtual world that you guys have been implementing and using?
I find that the appointment is easier to get because of the time commitment. So if someone's agreeing to meet with you for an hour in their home, you're got to coordinate with the family. You're coming over to getting stuff ready, and so it's so time. It allows them to do it on their own time. They can walk around. They don't have someone necessarily in their home. That maybe their house isn't clean yet. So getting a virtual appointment has proven to be easier. The execution is what we're fumbling forward on, and getting better at. Ricky, I like a couple of those things that you threw out there. That instructional email, probably, I could see how that could be just completely and utterly just critical. And with that extra time that we have from the driving and those other things, we have time to put together a really consistent and detailed way of doing that. I am seeing challenges with the types of phones. FaceTime works for some people because I think we had someone who had no more space. They couldn't download another app. So we had to FaceTime. And Zoom, we got cut off at 40 minutes. We should have and didn't have a paid account. We should have done a Google Hangout. So figuring out which mode is best, you kind of be open to some other ideas there and just figure out, knowing if you've got 4 to 6 party, we have a 4-party listing. I have a 4-party consultation tomorrow. And we had to make sure everyone was able to have the same software. And ultimately we chose the Google Hangout for that reason. So,
yeah.
Tim, just a little, some things that we learned through, what you're referencing. So we have 3 paid accounts, and then we have 12 free accounts, all in the same business account. And what we learned is we can avoid on listing appointments, you can actually avoid having to do the paid account if you structure it in a 2-step process. Step 1 being that they log on to the link through their mobile device, and it's just us having a conversation like we'd be having on the couch when you first get to your appointment to build rapport. Then it's them going through the house and showing the house a virtual walkthrough. All of that usually takes about 30 minutes at most, so you're under that 45-minute mark. Then we instruct the client to get on a larger screen, like a computer, so that way they can see the information we're going to be sharing, which then counts as a separate, it starts that timer again. So if they're doing on their phone for 30 minutes, then they get off and revisit that link on their computer, so that way they can see our screen. That resets that clock, so then you don't have to do the pay to count.
I love that. And what about, are you recording then the Zoom appointment? Because then you can send it to them for their records. Isn't that fun?
Oh, no, that's interesting you said that. So we were recording them for agent training. And what we found is sometimes if the wife, like for example, the other night, the wife couldn't be there, it just did not work out. We didn't want to delay it. And so we offered to send a copy of the appointment to the wife. And he thought that was so cool that we were able to do that. So that actually did come up.
Yeah.
I think that changed what you just said. We're going to see the landscape of real estate change moving forward. And I think the fact that even an in-person appointment moving forward, hey, may I record this so we can send it to your wife?
Yeah.
You know, it's a succession. Hey, your sisters are out of state. I'm going to record this and we're going to send it to them. How does that sound?
Well, how many times do you have conversations at an appointment and the sellers don't recall that? Could this also be a CYA for later? Remember when we were at our appointment and we talked about this?
Yeah. No, Mr. Seller, we talked about 300,000. It's at the 14-minute mark. Please reference your video.
Exactly. Watch here. Oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
Well, I noticed that on page 105 is where they actually reveal Gary in the box. Now, you guys remember, you've been around long enough, the black box, who actually in their lifetime of Keller Williams agents have made a box and operated with a paper in the box. Have you guys ever did that? Did you never do that? You didn't? Oh.
No.
I'm a dork. So yes, we actually had a file, a big file box bin, and that's where all of our leads and follow-ups lived. And so if you guys get a chance, just go read that at the page of 105. It's referenced a lot of times in kind of the history of Keller Williams. If that's how Gary kept in touch or remembered who to follow up with. So
well, back then a computer was $20,000, so the black box was the best option.
Yes.
No, but that's
a great real estate, yeah.
It's a great story, and I always love the part where he talks about how he never would carry business cards and why behind that.
He just shared that on the new episode of Think Like a CEO this morning. Yeah, that
awesome.
He shared that again.
That's such a great podcast.
It really is so good. Well, the whole idea of me bringing that up is that, of course, we always know that fortune's in the follow-up, and this is just getting your mind around what another example of what that could look like. I really like this section. It's toward the back of the chapter, and it says the seller table that matters on page 107. And to me, it's so interesting because haven't you always found that once you have face-to-face contact, you have a higher conversion rate? You're going to be better at connecting and building relationships face-to-face. Well, right now we're maybe not able to do that. And so rather than, and it also depends on the market that we're in. Are we in a seller's market or buyer's market? And right now, I think most of us are probably still in a bit of a seller's market in most price points. And that's just where this is talking about in a shifted market, unmotivated or unrealistic sellers can cost you time and money. So let's just say this goes on for a little bit longer. Things change a bit. What are you going to do when it comes to still taking listings and the conversations that you'll have around the importance of pricing and doing what it takes to get it sold?
Well, it's funny because once you've had a team for a while, and you can see, I've been through a buyer's market with team members who did not price it right. And who does that cost? Cost of sales is we're trying to operate off the 30-30-40 principle, but understanding expenses in this business is everything. So it's a very relevant topic, a very relevant conversation. You need to start watching, we're already talking about cutting expenses, but you have to be careful what you say yes to. Wanting to sell, needing to sell are different things. I remember in 2009, in 2010, having the conversations to the degree where I knew someone was going to have to write a check to sell their home. And them still saying, okay, how many appointments did I have to get to find that one? And, I didn't have a ton of money at the time to throw at listings that weren't going to sell or commit to doing things I couldn't honor. And I would not do that. I'm not going to put a sign in the yard, commit to spending hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on a listing I know won't sell. So it's just being smart and knowing, studying the market, studying the numbers, knowing your ratios, absorption rates, days on market, all that stuff.
It's time to break out some of the old school scripts. Hey, Tim, I can appreciate that you want to make $300,000 for your home. I get it. But I'd rather disappoint you now by telling you the truth of what you can get for your home instead of disappointing you 6 months from now when I'm having to come out and wipe the dust off our for sale sign.
Bro, I love that script.
I do too. My version was I'd rather tell you no now than let you down later.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that was the original. That was the OG version, and then we just tweaked it a little bit.
I am OG, Ricky.
Say that again.
Hey, so that actually, Tim, what you were talking about will be coming up, Price Ahead of the Market in Tactic 7. And I love that chapter because the words in there of how you can explain and visualize with your clients the importance of pricing correctly. I love that.
And the one thing I will say is that everything that's going on, it really has separated the sellers that need to sell and the ones that were just, didn't really have a big why attached. And so, it's y'all know this, life is, your experience in life is going to be based on the lens at which you look through. And for me, I'm choosing to look at the positives of what's happening right now. And that's a positive. It's really helping us to focus on the people that are extremely motivated. And another great question too is, hey, Tim, just so I can understand your level of motivation so that my motivation can follow up with you matches your motivation. How motivated are you to put a sign in your yard in the next 90 days and make a move to Austin, Texas? A 10 because Ricky Cain lives there? Okay, great. Well, let's get together Thursday at 2 and talk about a plan to get you here. But my point is, in all honesty, is that it really is separating those that are super motivated and those that aren't. And so it's making our efficiency much better. And so there are positives if you're looking for
it. Thank you for sharing all of that, Ricky. I'm going to go back and watch that part and share it with the team. 105, Jenny, that you talked about, it's just above Gary in the box, middle of the page. The process of cementing a relationship through the 8x8s, your 33 touch, this is where agents fail. Do you have the commitment to do the activities? And so I'm jumping back to page 85 on this one. Like, I literally could talk for days on this topic. Once you've gotten a lead, I believe you've earned the right to reach out to them for the rest of their life. And that's just how I operate. But to give an example, it says on page 85, conversion is actually a collapsed process disguised as an event. Conversion can happen fast or slow, but it's always a process. I'll give you an example, 2 of them. I have a noted here, and these are some old notes, but this is a relevant one. So I have a lady that I spoke to. We're going to be listing her home. I have in my top producer, which I still use, I have been calling her since 2013.
Yeah. Oh, I've got older than that.
Do you have the fortitude to call someone for 7 years? Yeah. Now, what it looks like is I went and just snagged the listing out of the marketplace. I have been calling her and mailing her and emailing her, handwriting notes. That's a 33 touch, by the way, for 7 years. Here's another that I had and this young lady called me recently and she had called me. I have called her, written her, never gotten a response. I've responded email, not responded text, not returned voicemail for 3 years. And she called me and the motivation had hit her. And she said, Tim, I'm so sorry. I know you've called me for a long time. And I looked at my notes, said, you're right. It's been 3 years. And she said, I have a house to sell, a duplex, and I'm ready to buy a fourplex. It was a three, and that's a 3 deal. We're going to sell, buy off of a 3-year thing. So most people just aren't committed. So there's the cultivate portion of that. They don't. I think that is is not talked about enough, is the cultivation. Like, you could dig deep on this one, but that one right there speaks as, for me, like the most important part of this book.
And those stories happen all the time for us too, as I'm sure they do for Ricky and his team. And those are the stories every week at our team meeting of share some fun success stories. Those are the stories that I'm telling of, hey guys, guess what? I have 8 years going back of voicemail, text, email, no response. And then the come list me's. And this is how we are just all of a sudden an overnight success. Because
that's funny. I was thinking about Eduardo Sandoval and his wife. We listed their home about 9 months ago, helped him buy a home. Now he wants to buy a bigger home. So 4 transactions, and he was an expired call that I made in 2008. So it was it just goes back to what Tim said. I mean, it's a follow-up game. I love all of that in the book too, because we put so much emphasis on getting leads. And chances are, if you've been in the real estate game for 3-4 years, you already have leads. They're sitting in your database, but people don't want to call them. They want to call strangers that you've never provided value to, whereas you have a database full of people that know who you are, they know what you do, and they've gotten value from you, but you're not calling them. That doesn't make sense.
Well, guess what? There's lots of them. I'm going through doing the database too, to our database, and I don't even know who they are. And as soon as I ask, how you doing? Everything's okay. And they'll say, yeah, how's the real estate? So they know who I am because they've gotten our touches over the years. And I may not know. That's where we're great. Thanks for asking, Something I also noticed as I was doing some care calls yesterday to a local business owner. He's in the financial planning world. And just asking how he's adjusting and what they're working on. And as he was talking and sharing with me all the stuff, I was like, wow, that sounds exactly like the lead generation model in Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I said, have you read that book yet? Because he is into that stuff. And he said, I haven't. I have it at my office. I said, well, go get it and start reading it, because you don't have to go reinvent the wheel. It's already created for you. So that's another way we can be adding value besides sharing Shift. And the one thing, all of these are great tools and resources for our small business owners that are going through this new times, right? Well, that wraps up this section. I think it just ends with, it is where the possible business that comes from your lead generating activities can turn into probably business and ultimately into profitable business. So just like Tim and Ricky shared, time on the task over time, nurturing and loving our people. That's how all of us right now have clients under contract, right? This has only been going on for a few weeks. Now, what is our business going to look like next month? What do you guys think?
And it's going to look amazing.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit. What was the question?
I was just saying the success that we have right now, currently, our teams have houses under contract. We have active buyers and sellers. That was all from the past few months of work and the last 7 and 8 years. Now, what's going to happen over the next month or the following month because of this slowdown that we have?
Well, I know for us, it's going to be amazing because we're doubling down on being an information leader and a connection leader. And so for us, it's going to be predictable. It's, we're having closing dates extend. We're having some people, what's actually kind of interesting, we've had a couple listings too, go back on the market, and we're actually in a position to get more money for them than what they had before, because there's
Yeah.
equal buyer demand and less listing inventory because of everything happening.
Yep.
So it's kind of an interesting blessing in disguise. But I mean, I think if you are doubling down on being an information leader and a connection leader, and you're making those contacts, or what we call conversations, every single day, and you're consistent, your income's going to be consistent. So I don't think from that perspective anything changes. I just think the quality of the conversation has to be better.
Mm. So what does that look like for you? Gary says we need to double down on lead gen. Is that literally what you're doing? And are you reporting out your numbers at the end of the day?
Yeah, pretty much. Another thing I was thinking about too is there's a lot of objections right now, because this is a whole new thing that we're going through. No one's gone through this before. And one thing that we've been talking a lot on different Zoom calls is, don't assume that when you're having a conversation that you know what their objection is. It's just like when you're speaking with a seller, and we're taught that every seller wants the best price
Mm.
and they want the quickest sell. Well, that's not true. You need to ask the right questions to peel that onion back and figure out what that objection is. Because if you, during what we're going through right now, if you're assuming you know what it is that's causing them not want to buy or sell real estate, and you're not actually asking the question, and you're giving an objection for an objection that's not present, that's the fastest way to lose rapport. So for us, it's not just doubling down on the conversations, it's doubling down on the objection handling that we're doing, the training that we're doing every day. It's doubling down on the script practice. It's not just doubling down on the amount of conversations, it's doubling down on your ability to have a quality conversation.
Love that. That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
And I agree wholeheartedly when you said that, because we make these assumptions. iBuying wouldn't exist if every seller wanted the most money with the least amount of, right, the least amount of hassle. Those things wouldn't exist. And so we have to, you have to meet the market where it is. Like, what is going on right now? And, and this isn't falling on deaf ears. I mean, sellers, they're not as informed as we are about the local media. I mean, the local market. But yeah, asking great questions, finding the motivation. And people, if someone's in a bad situation, we need to help them. And that person's not going to want to list it at 105% of appraised value. It's just, so yeah, getting in there, digging, asking really good questions. Doubling down. I will admit I have overcommitted to, this is fantastic, but I've got about one more of these, and then I'm going on hiatus as far as webinars and things go. I think my family and my team deserve my absolute focus. And so I'm diving hard into, we will train, we will script, we will role play, but my prospecting and serving the community. And I heard a webinar yesterday, a podcast. I was up early running around the neighborhood, and it was said that we have a civic duty to stay profitable. We have a civic duty to help keep things moving, and real estate closings. And, there's a lot that hinges on that. And so it's a unique perspective to think there's a civic responsibility to keep things afloat. So it hit me in a weird way, to be honest. I said, I have a responsibility here to help keep getting people need to get paid. People have, and we need the tax revenue and the sales revenue and all those other things. So come April 1, it's laser focus. Movement is not achievement.
It's true. That's a bold law.
That's a bold law.
So I am with you guys. I'm certain that you are getting up, you're following your same schedule, you're getting into your workspace, and you're staying positive and optimistic, and yet in reality, and sharing that with your teams. I don't know about you guys. We're more connected as a team. We are sharing more. I feel really great. And this past whole week was our care calls. And that's what I was just thinking through. And that's why I brought that up earlier, Ricky, was like, we can care, and then will there be a point where those turn, and now it's, yes, I have the motivation or the desire to move now, and then we're there for them. These are our collecting. You've heard this over the past few weeks. This is where we're gaining in mind share, so that later on we can help with the market share as well. any final words, and people can reach out to you guys if they have any more questions. And I appreciate you guys so much for all your time.
Tim?
Stay relentless.
I love it.
Yeah.
Grit.
And I agree. I love that book, by the way. I would just reiterate, there are two things that you can control. It's your mindset, and it's the activities you choose to do or not do. And so if you're telling yourself a story that all of this is happening to you and the market is dictating whether or not you're successful, man, I love you, and you're telling yourself a lie. And so the sooner you can tell yourself the truth and work on those two things that you can control, the sooner that you can fulfill your destiny and your duty and obligation to your family and to your team members by taking action and thinking about things the way you should.
I think that's a great note to end on, and I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll keep trucking on, moving through the rest of these tactics, and I look forward to seeing y'all later, and I can't wait for real hugs and high fives with you. And Ricky, happy birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Right now.
Tim, come on, get in here. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Y'all have a blessed day.